Okay, so we are officially live. This is Reflection Artist Live, episode number 64, and we have special guests with us. Well, let me back up a little bit. Reflection Artist Live number 64 for March 2nd. So that way it's documented properly. However, special guest with us, the one and only, and I give him a huge tribute to introduction, unlike other guests, because there is only one, Mr. Renny Doyle. Most of you know him. If you don't, you got to get out from underneath the rock you live under, especially if you're involved in the detail industry. You have to know who Renny is. He's written a book. He's been in the industry for over 25 years at an industry level. He's been detailing for over 40 years, which was way back when things were like black and white. But I mean, it was, he's been around for a while. Air Force One detailer, the detailer of Air Force One. I mean, there's a laundry list on his resume, and he is giving back to the detail community at a level that really, I mean, there's people that are there, but at his level, it's a whole nother ball game. So needless to say, I want to introduce Mr. Renny Doyle and get his background story of how he got involved in the wonderful world of detailing.
Hey, Justin, thanks, man. Pretty honored. First off, to take and watch your journey. I just get shivers all over me. Seriously, I do, because it's pretty cool. I never dreamed that, I would see a time in the industry that in detailing industry, it would be to where it is so freaking fantastic. Simple to say. It is just, I never imagined it in my career. I would see so many people kicking booty, and doing so well and building a life and building wealth. And so you're one of them, as to see, a guy like you coming up, in his 30s and so successful, so happy, and to have a family and all the things that go around with it and your own successes, man, I'm just honored.
Thank you. Thank you. I owe you a lot of credit for that, but we won't go down that rabbit hole because there's a lot to be said there.
Yeah, well,
positive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's all, you're always so good in this. I just got off another call, and I was saying the same thing, is that, successful people always give credit, and you're one of the ones that always gives such honor to the people that have helped you during your journey. Your journey's been your journey. It hasn't been mine. It hasn't been like mine. There's some similarities to it, but that's all of successful journeys. But, you continue to always give tribute. And that's the one thing that, if I get across to younger, doesn't matter, all ages, always get tribute to the people that help lift you up. And you're so good at that, because I hear you say that to so many people and during your journey and during, trainings and during speeches and during, working at your shop, is that you just do a great job of giving back to other people that have helped rise you up through the years, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah. Thank you. Just giving credit where credit's due, right?
There you go. There you go. So it's an honor to be here.
So how did it start for you, Renny? Give us the backstory for those that don't know.
Reader's Digest version. I grew up about 38 miles from downtown Los Angeles. We grew up in a working class town. I didn't have a dad. My mom and grandma, I found out when I was 13, my grandma was on food stamps and welfare. Couldn't do a whole lot to get off the total system, but I did not want my grandma going to the store and having to hand over food stamps. And so I was really into bikes, got a BMX bike over there that's dear to my heart. I started out mobile with a bicycle, then went from that to a bicycle with a little wagon behind me. And I just started cleaning airplanes. I had Art Scholl was the guy that got me my very start. Next from there was Bill and Winnie Bartell. And I just went from job to job on my bicycle with about a 12-mile one way. So there's some Saturdays or Sundays I was riding 24 miles round trip on a BMX bicycle to go. And at that point, it really wasn't even the money. I was around aircraft. I was around successful people. My thirst for success started to ignite by the people that I was around.
Not to mention, it's fun chopping it up on a BMX bike on your way to go do something.
Oh, it was. I got real old. So my older brother's 8 years older than me. And once I started making some money at it, I incorporated him into it and realized real quick I'd give him 50% of the money because he'd come, work with me, right? He was an electrician Monday through Friday. And on Saturday, Sunday, he'd go out and all the way up until about 10 years ago, he'd go out and help me on aircraft because he had a truck. And so I wasn't stupid. That bike, man, that was 12 miles one way on a BMX bike sucked. Back then it didn't, but I mean, I couldn't, my chubby butt, there's no way I could do that today. But, it really got me around the right people, but mostly, about a year later when I was almost 14, not quite 14, I was able to give enough money over to my grandma every month where she didn't have to use food stamps. We're still on welfare, we're still on public medical, and so, we didn't have much, man. I mean, we didn't, but I always loved, and I loved detailing, and I went in and started doing cars, for the guys for the teams I was doing aircraft with, and it just kept growing so much that in '86, I sold that company. It was called Spectrum Detailing because we did the full spectrum, and I just found a business card from way back then in a flyer. And I sold that company, and I sold it for a significant amount, almost it was $96,000. And I remember thinking, my God, I'm on my way to being a millionaire. I mean, that was an ungodly amount of money. I mean, especially back then. But, I invested it right, and I did the right things with it, and bought a car, a Porsche, that ignited another passion that still there's a couple Porsches we're blessed to have a couple in our barn, so to say. But it really ignited a passion for automobiles, that took me down a whole nother road. And that's where it started. It started out very generic. It started very innocently, and it started with no intentions other than I loved airplanes and I wanted to be around them. And I found the right people around me that wanted to help, saw some value in me, and I could have easily, man, I was going down. I had to go to a boys camp, one summer right in the midst of all this because I got in a little trouble, and they sent me to a work camp, which I loved. I volunteered to stay another week because I loved the discipline. I didn't have quite enough discipline at home. My grandma was pretty burned out from what she had, been forced to face with us. Always took care of us. My mom was, pretty burned out, and I needed a man to beat my ass, and I got it at that camp, and it was a real eye opener. And between detailing and entrepreneurship and sports, and they go into that camp, and a cop seeing me go down the wrong road and getting a hold of me and basically pulling me off the wall. I could have gone that way on the wall, but instead somebody pulled me this way, and thank God it happened that way.
So once you got past that stage in your life and you started to see the green, to say the money and the potential, and then you did have these opportunities, where did you have, you did have that first shop, your first official shop, right, was in Boise, am I correct?
No, going back, we went into the window tinting industry after.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, we went into the window tinting and window covering business. So I had a shop in Grand Terrace, California, little town right next to where I grew up. It was kind of the upper end back then. It was a nicer neighborhood. We did work all over Southern California, and I took and sold that operation and decided to go to work for a corporation. Didn't have any big numbers. I was kind of burned out. I'd gone through a divorce with my first wife, which was my business partner, and we're still really good friends. We didn't have kids or anything, but I was kind of, both of us were hurt, and we were stupid with each other, and we unneededly hurt each other, and emotionally, and not physically, but I just to a point to where I'd been an entrepreneur, but I hadn't seen millions. I'd seen hundreds, I hadn't seen millions. And so I went in and spent 5 years in corporate America and ran a division that was doing about $12 million a year in revenue. And that was really before with the first detailing business, man, I was lucky. I really was. I had a great personality as a kid. I was a special ed kid. I always, I was teased. I grew up in a tough town to where, I'm not a real big guy. I'd gotten a lot of brawls, so it made me tough. Played football, I'm athletic, but I wasn't big enough to be playing where I was playing, but I played, and I handled it. So I was always kind of the underdog. And I started becoming the top dog. I started believing in myself. I got out of my own way. But that first detailing business, I really lucked out. I built relationships. I didn't build a business. I built a relationship, and the competition wanted those relationships, so they bought it from me. By the time that I sold my second business, the window covering business, I'd become an entrepreneur, but I was still green in the fact that I just didn't have that big money. And those 5 years I spent with corporate America were really the 4 years was great. The last year, I had the entrepreneur itch, man. I just didn't like, somebody ringing the bell for me. I didn't like being on a hamster wheel. I didn't like, I didn't like the regiment, even though, I'm a search and rescue guy and a military guy. And the business side of it is that I really thirst to take and call my own shots and to build my own future.
What age were you at that point? That last year, that 5 year stretch?
I was 30. And so I was 31. And so when I
even
left,
at 30, 31, just to point out, there's still that maturity of business, right? Mentally, even though you got insight and learned a lot and did a good portion up to 30, there was still that curve that you had, that you were still hungry and learning more and getting more out of it. And there was still a lot more to get.
Oh yeah, really. Even I've told the story many times of Carol Shelby, even at nearly 40, Carol Shelby, I got a 3-minute conversation. I didn't know Carol Shelby. Carol Shelby wouldn't remember my face or my name, the rest of his life. But he did say some, important things to me. And one of the things he said was, really, up until you're 40, you're honing in things. You're practicing. Is you go from being an apprentice to a journeyman. You go from being a journeyman to a master journeyman. Then you start becoming a master, and you start learning how to take your art and tie it with profits. And that's what started happening, is that I was still honing in my skills. I was making a living. I was buying houses. I was buying things. I was very successful.
Making investments.
Yeah, investments and everything else, even in my, my 20s and 30s. My 20s, I had it a lot more together than my 30s, believe it or not. And the reason why is my 20s was just like, a lot of people gave their 20s away. I didn't. I gave my 30s away. And what I mean by that is that when I was in my 20s, I made as much money as I did in my 30s practically, because I lived so simple. I bought a house for cash. I had a fancy little car, but I bought it for cash, and I just lived life, man. I was working out, and I was powerlifting. I was skiing all over North America. I was on search and rescue. I was flying. I was doing all these cool things, and I constantly paid myself. So I'd say, okay, I'm going to go out and work hard for 2 weeks. Then I'm going to take a week off. Then I'm going to go out and I'm going to work hard for a month and a half, or I'm going to work all summer long, and I'm going to take 3 weeks and go to Hawaii, go dive. And I really, the reason why I was so successful in my 20s up until 30 was I was honestly happy. I didn't overwork, and I was magnetic, meaning that my best friend, Rich, he called me the Midas touch. Every time I touched something, it was wasn't to gold, it was turning to silver. But I was okay with silver because I had a great lifestyle. And then I got to my 30s and I wanted to turn everything into gold. I had, kids came into the picture, not having a dad, not growing up with much. I kind of had the wrong ideals. I went to work hard to give my family, a fancy house and fancy stuff. And I damaged myself. I damaged them. I damaged everybody around me because I wasn't happy, because I went from this life of fulfillment to a life where I gave up my inner soul. And even though I was building an empire, I'm standing in what we built the foundation on at that time. Deep down, I was miserable. I was miserable because I'd given up. I was aiming at what I thought happiness and success in life meant, and I'd just given it up. And it had nothing to do with my wife. It had nothing to do with my kids. My heart was telling me one thing. My mind was winning the battle, and it really set me back more than it pushed me ahead. All that hard work and overwork did nothing but physically and mentally beat me up. I've seen some horrific things, in my time in the service, now in the State Guard here in California, and search and rescue even more. I mean, just horrific things that most humans should not ever be able to see. And I'm honored to be able to take those debts on me because I can do it. The damage I did from the financial side of it and the overworking side far outweighs that. And that's why I always try to tell, people, I don't care what age you are, if you're 20 going into business or if you're 100, is that, man, you can't damage yourself, because I did. And I'm going to pay the price for that the rest of my life.
Yeah. And that's why you preach so much in regards to work-life balance kind of scenario, because coming from that yourself, And you don't, I do it now myself. I went down that path, and obviously you helped change that for me, that path. But
Right.
experiencing it and then learning from it and then trying to preach it to other people. Some people, they get it, they pick up on it, and other people, they don't see it at the moment. It's a time and point in their life that it's just not registering. And sometimes it takes them dragging their knees quite a bit to understand that and be like, damn, I wish I would have listened sooner.
Yeah, and let's be honest, some people just don't have the mental fortitude to pull out of it. Is that
Yeah.
their experience with self-preservation and entrepreneurship is gone because they did so much damage that they just go back to a paycheck, and it ruins the journey. And I hate to say that, but it's dead truth, because not everybody's cut out for this. It's not an easy thing. Just like everybody's not cut out to go to the military, everybody's not taken and made to take in and go into survival mode and making it work. And so it's as simple as that. Once you do that damage, good luck getting it back out. So,
yeah. So as far as going into after tint and getting back into the industry, is that going into the Boise stage where you had that shop?
Sun Valley, Idaho. So,
That's what it was. Sorry.
Yeah, we started out, and again, I went into another opportunity where I had invested with somebody close to me, and things just didn't work out. I invested a lot of money, about $500,000, and it was dumb on my part. It's nobody else's fault but mine. But it, kind of got hosed on that. Self-hosing is what I call it, because the writing was on the wall before I even gave the money out, that it just wasn't going to go good. But it was a risk, right? And so that part kind of set me in. It started a vicious cycle. Is that, I went from an executive to still being, is at that time I was playing gambling in real estate. I'd gone into another industry, was helping develop, on the development side of things. There's a lot of upside to it. So, I rolled the dice, and it's like going to Vegas. The odds were in their favor, and I lost. What I learned from that was huge. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Because immediately when we started back into detailing in Sun Valley, Idaho is much more like I live now. It's a ski town, central mountains of Idaho. It's in the Rockies, and it's cold, and but it's wealthy. And I, at that time, told Diane, I can go back. My old company wanted me back. I could crawl back to them, or we could sit on our knees for a little while, and I could pay the price and get back into what I really love. And I was detailing. The entry price was pretty low. A lot of same reasons people could jump into this. I could get back into it for a relatively, low investment. But I also said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to take everything I've learned from running a $12 million a year division of a major company, and I'm going to bring it into detailing. I'm going to bring in experience. I'm going to bring in the relationships. I'm going to bring in the finances. And we did. And we went from 98 of having, one little mobile operation to, by 2003, 6 shops across the country, all the way to Destin,
Wow.
Florida, and so we turned it around. But with that, it sounds fancy, right? I screwed myself up, Justin. Is that I broke myself because I overworked, and I thought bigger was better, and I wasn't watching my numbers, and I was overstressed, and I was overworked, and I was just, I got angry. I got bitter because I didn't remember those play years in my 20s. Just 6 years before that, 5 years before that, I was having such a ball. And now I wasn't fit. I gave up my fitness somewhat, not totally, but I gave up a lot of my passions and myself, and it was nobody else's problem but mine. I allowed people to maybe not deliver in my life and keep stacking things on me. I allowed that to happen. I didn't cry out enough. I thought I was tough enough to take it on. I've been tough enough to take on the gangs, growing up in fights. I've been tough enough to make it through a football program that was for much bigger guys than what I was. I had taken and beat the odds and sold a company. I beat the odds and was no longer a special needs kid. I've got a bachelor's and a master's degree. I beat all these odds, but what I wasn't beating was I didn't beat the self-abuse that I applied to myself. I lost.
that's a different category. It's a different ball game. All those things that add up to make you motivated to think you could just push through it, right? That wall that's in front of you that you're just going to bulldoze through, and
Yeah.
instead you're beating, but you're beating yourself down, and you don't see that. It's the reverb of the beat, right? You're beating, and then you don't realize that your shoulders and everything start to break down during that process.
You know, we started up another company. We've owned several companies in different industries. And in 01, we started another company up. By 05, we'd sold that company for a significant amount of money. And on the outside, we built the big house, we had the investments, we had the toys, we had everything going, except I was miserable because I'd given up so much of me. And it's like, today we're talking before we started, I'm heading out right after this, loading up my overland rig, and me and one of my dogs are going to go out to southern Utah for just 24 to 48 hours. And I'm going to go give myself some peace. And I wasn't giving myself, I was giving, and it ended up what was a good intention. And this is not easy to talk about. It's not, but it is. That makes sense, because I'm not a weak person. I'm a strong person. Everything I thought I was giving to the people around me, I was letting them in some ways. I had abused myself, and there I was bitter. So I got angry. What happens when you're bitter? Man, that comes out in every way. Came out with my kids, so I was a little tougher on my kids than I should have been. I'm tough on me. I'm tough on everybody around you. Chris works with me every day. I got high demands. I don't micromanage. I don't take in. Chris and I work very good together. A couple people have had to straighten me out. Jim Gogan had to straighten me out one day. I got very upset at Diane at a show, and he goes, "Hey man, you need to mellow out," and I did. Not many people will reach out to me, but it was even during a time where I was still, that bitterness was coming out, and it was for one purpose. I had the money. I was worth over $1 million at that point. I had a net worth over $1 million. I had the success. I had a little bit of 5 minutes of fame. People knew who I was when I went to events. I had successful companies that were bringing in money, but I didn't have me. And it made me really angry. And maybe some other people, I see other men and I know they're stronger than me. I'm just showing you as a weakness because I'm so driven and I demand so much of myself that I held that same demands on other people. That's not possible. And the biggest thing to happen is I wasn't getting the joy that I worked so hard out of. I felt I was giving other people joy in buying stuff, but in reality, they didn't want that stress. They wanted simplicity and go camping. They wanted me to be stress-free. Well, some people didn't own up to their part of the bargain either. It's not just me,
Yeah.
It's not just me, it's the people around you, but you've got to be honest with those people around you, how you're feeling. And I'm being a strong man, I'm macho. I hold it all in. And it just kept breaking me worse and worse and worse. And so, I see these people grinding it. And it makes me bite my fingernails off, because I know what's coming if they don't straighten out. Now, maybe some of them won't, but I'll tell you this, if you're doing that and you're not taking, I had a thyroid issue that popped up 2.5 years ago. Whoo, first time I've ever been damaged by anything physically, and it's going to happen. What was that from? Probably the stress. You don't get sleep. It's going to come out eventually. You don't eat right. It's going to come out eventually. You don't work out on a regular basis. Going to come out eventually. You don't get me time and quiet time and downtime just to yourself. Listen, you're a father, about ready to become a father again. Your kids are important, but if you're not right, you can't be right for your kids. If you're not right, you can't be right for your spouse. If your spouse isn't right to you and supporting you in the right ways that you need to be supported, you're both broken and you break everybody around you. And so, you can't start those gears going in the wrong direction. And the second that you're honest with yourself, I was honest deep down. I just didn't tell anybody. But guess what? They're seeing it come out. I had friends of mine that watched me change, that watched me go from having fun to having fun every once in a while. And that's not cool.
Yeah. That if I think everybody can relate to that. There's at some level with everybody, with all of the people that are in business, detailing, whatever it may be, there's definitely some kind of relation to that because we all bust our ass and work hard. And there's that inner person that I'm sure each of you are like, hey, wow, that, yeah, I got to listen to that.
And I honestly think I took it to an extreme. Let's flash forward. There's been pockets to where in the last decade, is 2011. I sought out some counseling. Is that as a real low spot that really started a cascade of positiveness. I started regaining, and what's happened now is that I say no real easy. Is that I've got my limits, and I've had to take while I was successful, I also held myself back because deep down that poor kid, that was not too sure of himself, that was told he was, partially retarded because they didn't know what ADD was. All these downers that I had going on kind of sat there in my brain and talked to me a little bit. And so I always tell myself, listen, it's not what you could have been, it's what you're going to be and what you're going to teach other people to be. And I've had that mentality for about 10 or 11 years. And it's just catapulted my life. It's catapulted my career. It's catapulted I'm 55 years old and I've got a thyroid disorder. I can still go in and lay down three plates on a bench press. So that's 315 pounds without any keepers. I can still go out and hike like mad. I can still go out and do the things even at nearly 56 years old. So I've been able to regain, especially the last 2 years, some of my fitness, and it's going to just keep getting better. I'm not going to get in worse shape. I'm going to get in better shape. We're talking before you came on, keep getting bruised, keep getting cuts. I'm going to go do hardcore mountaineering this summer with a buddy of mine. I'm going to get bruised up. I'm going to get damaged. Might even get hurt a little bit, that's okay. But once I made the conscious decision to make myself healthy, everybody else around me, I've been far greater to live with and live around. My success financially has increased tenfold the last 12 years, 13 years. Is my self-worth. I'm worth more to me. And then I can truly be better off to other people by telling them my experiences so they don't go down those dark alleys. Or at least they don't go down by themselves, is that they've got people here, And so, now that we flipped that over, it was a 10-year period, but unfortunately it was a pretty important decade, of my life. So if I could reach out to somebody that's young or maybe even my age or older that's going through those things, just stop. You got to stop the train and you got to slam the brakes on and go get a little help. That therapy really helped me a lot. I read a tremendous amount and I try to keep my brain. I sleep. Those periods didn't sleep real well. Now ask me how I sleep, man. I lay my head down on the pillow. I'm out. I am completely out. I have got the most intense schedule, 6 hours a day. I do more in 6 hours than what most people do in 10, is because it's just back to back to back. But there's times I can't fit any more in. And so I know I've got to get to the gym and work out. That's why I'm putting a gym in here now. I know I got to spend time with my wife, with Darren, because, we got a 17-year-old home. I know I have to spend time with me. I spend anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes a day walking with my dogs. Just something simple like that, all from it. And then I spend usually about 4 or 5 hours a week with my horse, with Diane and I, with our horses. And then now I go out. So I've got planned escapes, and planned predestined. It doesn't need to cost a lot of money. You go on a truck, you can have a 1979 Chevy truck and sleep in the back with an air mattress and go have a ball. You don't need to spend any money. You can go, you're a fighter, you're a boxer. You can go to the gym and have a workout. You can go on the run and go sweat it out. That doesn't cost much. Cost a pair of sweats. And so there, coming through the journey, there's the dark side a lot of people won't tell you about. They always give you the glorious side.
Yeah.
The sunny side. But as much as we have on personal relationships, you're going to have people that struggle in your life. You're going to have struggles with other people. And you've got to have the fortitude and the health, both physically and mentally, to get through those times and still smile.
100% agree. Now, with that gap, and I keep saying Boise, but I know it's Sun Valley, and I think it's because the whole thing with Idaho, I think Sydney, right?
Yeah, right.
The Red Company.
Right.
But at Sun Valley, you ended up selling that, right? And that was that operation at that point, because I feel like that's that's the good information to let people know it, that year, what year was that you sold?
We sold in 2000, end of 2010. So 2011 was the first year that I didn't operate a shop in a long time, you know, because training had taken off. I was a spokesperson for Flex Tools. I had just ended a 10-year relationship with Shell Oil. And so it was just, you know, the training was really going a whole new direction.
Now, Shell, not to cut you off, but Shell, that on the detail side, what brands was that? So people are more familiar.
So this is pretty cool. And it's going back. I'm looking at one of their original kits right now. And Diane's, we got a kind of a museum started up. It was called Flight Jacket. It was Aero Shell Flight Jacket. It was an aircraft detailing line that we co-created with Shell Oil back in the late 90s. 99, I started working on that project. So it was 11 years. And it was just a cool run. I went all over the country, all over the world with them. Was their detailer, their spokesperson, spoke at all the big events.
And that wasn't a normal category during those years at all.
No. And that was, you know, that was a 7-figure contract, you know, over those years.
Wow.
And so, you know, I always looked for multiple streams of income. You know, my mentors, even back then, even, you know, working class mentors, is so many of them, you know, I had some rich people, a business we created in Sun Valley, Idaho, which if you guys don't know anything about Sun Valley, go Google it and it'll blow you away. But, you know, we had some amazing, you know, very rich, you know, household names that we dealt with that I got stuff off of. But really the people I got the most out of were other blue collar people like myself. Walt, Monique, they owned a pasta manufacturing company, you know, Italian background, you know. I worked with them, Winnie and Bill Bartell, Becky, my ex-wife. You know, we still throw business ideas off each other. My wife, Diane, is the key, but I had all these people that built me up and gave me information. And it really readied me for the big leagues, because you look at the businesses that we own, you know, that shop in Sun Valley was at its height, did $1.3 million out of a 1,200 square foat shop. That was before coatings.
Yeah. We
didn't do paint protection film. We did coatings. We started there doing coatings in 04. But it really, you know, 05, 06, 07, 08 hit that shop pretty good, you know, as it did a lot of places, but we kept on ticking. Jorge that ran our shop was just here last year and trained. We keep in contact with him, but that shop was instrumental. In 07, I sold off most of them. I figured out we franchised the attention to details, logo and name. So we franchised it, and I sold 3 franchises, and I was partners on 2 others. And I figured out really quick, this is kind of being premature. I was about $250,000 shy on really what I needed in the bank to run a successful franchise, you know, offer. And then B, I needed another person, a high level person that was a buffer between me and the locations. Because what was happening is my phone was ringing off the hook 24/7. And when you sell a franchise, you're going to be everything to them. And so I quickly realized I didn't have enough money, and I didn't have enough time, and I started selling those operations off. We stopped franchising in 05. I started training instead, and there we go. Here we are today. And
that
so
was a year shy of where the mafia started, right? The idea of that.
Yeah, that was 06. You know, this logo started kind of popping up lightly, you know, and we had a coffee company up the Pacific Northwest, you know, that had the Dutch Brothers Coffee, had the Dutch Mafia. And I went through there one day and I saw that, and I was in an interview, and somebody called us the Detail Mafia, and I went, Dutch Mafia, Detail Mafia, let's go.
Done.
And it just launched it. And, you know, my grandpa was a made guy in the Dipolito family here in Southern California, you know, so he was a capo in the Italian Mafia. And some people wouldn't be proud of that. It's kind of cool, you know. I mean, there's a lot about my family I learned later. I've had to call them when I was younger and cause some issues. They had to get me out of trouble, you know, and keep me out of trouble with the wrong guys. So, but you know, yeah, it's been an amazing ride, and you know, I learned, and you know, Carol Shelby, go back to that conversation if you don't mind for a second. I think I was 38 or 39 when I came across him at SEMA, which just seems like, I mean, I was your age, what you are right now.
39, yeah.
Yeah, and technically, I didn't know it that same year I'd become a millionaire. My net worth was $1 million. And when I talked to Carol Shelby, I had no idea. It wasn't until about a month or two later that our accountant said, hey, you got a net worth of, well over $1 million. And I was like, holy shit. I think it was like 1.3 million. And I remember him telling me, I told him, I said, man, I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm a little spooked. I don't know if I'm really where I need to be or should be. And he's a big dude. He put his hands on my shoulder. He goes, son, how old are you? And this is going to be inappropriate, but because I was diagnosed as being partially retarded, I can say the word. I don't mean it rude, but he looked at me, and again, it's his error also. He goes, son, you're still retarded. He says, here's why. Is you're just getting in, you're not even 40 yet. You need to go through and you're going to learn really what you're about and what business is about in your 40s and 50s. You're going to start cranking out the money. Your 60s, it's going to be a money-making machine. At 70, you're going to wish you were 50 again. And poof, he was gone. He was out of my life. But I had that one time, that he said that to me. And I'll tell you, it was exactly true. At that point, I was starting to get to the healing process where I knew I was broken. Hadn't really admitted it to anybody else yet, but I knew I was going down a road I didn't like. It got a little worse for about another 4 or 5 years. And then it turned around. I opened up and started telling my family, I can't do this no more. And I started, the bitterness didn't go away. The anger didn't go away. The overstress didn't go away. The sleepless nights didn't go away. But what happened is I started getting healthier and healthier again. And I realized what Carol said. By the time that I did get well into my 40s, some cool shit started happening, and it's absolutely what Carol Shelby said all those years ago. It's absolutely true. 15 years ago, what he said is that it's just, man, and a lot of young people, you can do it younger than that. Look at you. I mean, I want young people. And it's not the money. The money when you're blue collar is going to come. It's going to take time to build up your wealth. But I guarantee you this, if you spend right and you save right and you earn right, you're going to become a millionaire. It might take you 20 years. It might take you 30 years, but you're going to do it. You just got to do it right. Take your time, build up, and have a good life until then. Just don't make that your main priority. Now, if you want to go out and be a millionaire or billionaire, that can happen too. In this industry, it's going to be a little harder. Well, you can do what we did and go invest. You've done it. You've invested in other companies and other ventures and so forth. Is that there's other ways that you can make your money make money, and you got to be looking for those things. But the key to it is to stay healthy, stay happy. Know you're going to get there. Always plan for it and bring others along the journey. Most of the people are not. They're going to stab you in the back. Most people are going to want to go on the ride with you, but what they won't tell you is they really want to be in front of you.
Yeah, they're waiting to push you off the ride.
Oh, yeah.
When's the opportunity?
Yeah.
When are we going to make that turn that I can just go?
Absolutely. And so realize that most of the people that are going to go with you are going to have that mentality, and you'll see it. You'll see it. It might take a while, but you'll see it. And that's why I gave you tribute in the beginning, because as you're buckled down, if my seatbelt comes undone and we're on that roller coaster, I have no doubt that Justin Lobato is going to reach over with his pretty big arms. He's going to hold me in until he can help me get seat belted back up.
And that might even help you snap it in.
That's exactly it.
And a little adjustment.
That's it. And so, hey, the true entrepreneurial, the people that really want to move you ahead, that's what they're going to do. And you're going to have bumps. The setback with my thyroid, man, was, like I said, first time, and I've been probably suffering from it for 10 years, just didn't know it, and it finally came to a head. And, we're all going to, face things I lost my mom. Holy shoot. You want to talk about something, lost my grandma, lost my mom. It just, man, it was like, wow, bam. You talk about a baseball bat to the head. And then COVID happens just, months later.
Yeah.
It was like, it was just a lot of hits. But you know what? I got to tell you, through those struggles and hard times is you take and you keep your mind right, and you keep your faith right, and you keep your friends right. There's challenges going on right now in my life. I'm going to go out tonight and deal with that out in the wilderness. That's my escape. You deal with those things, you keep charging ahead. And unfortunately, it's going to mean that some people aren't going to be on that journey with you. No. They might be there for the ride, but you got to adjust yourself and know you got to take the emotions out of it. You've taught me that saying. You got to take the emotions out of it sometimes, and it's business. And unfortunately, you're going to have those decisions. But you know what? Keep smiling, because you've made an impact on a lot of people's lives. That's when you get successful, that's what you want to be able to say, is that I've made a positive. Even with the stuff that I've struggled with, I've made a positive in some people's lives that care to go on the journey with you. A lot of them aren't. A lot of them are going to want to cut. You got to remember, man, you are a top fuel dragster when you're performing at the top levels. Is that some people are a Nissan GTR or Ferrari. They can't get down that track as fast as you as a top fuel dragster. They just can't. And especially they're going to be a high performance vehicle and they're going to go into the curves. Once you get in the curves, man, that dragster is no good, you know, and you're going to throw curves. So you got to take it at the beginning. I was that hard, you know, that dragster. Then I had to teach myself, shit, this dragster doesn't handle curves very well, you know, and I kind of grenaded. And then I had to get in and I'm a performance car now, man. You know, I'm that, you know, I might be older, you know, I'm that Cadillac that CT5 Blackwing that we talked about, you know. I'm not the Ferrari, but I don't, you know, I don't want to be a Ferrari. So
I'll take the caddy. Well, all these life experiences have obviously bloomed into so many great things, negative, positive, it's all learning curves, right? But
absolutely.
What really is what I like, what's current today, right? With the Detail and Success Knowledge and Training Center, with where we're at now, and so many great people who you've been able to mentor, train, and bring through the reins of the industry. But most of all, you know, I want to talk about a lot of what there's some distortion about the name in regards to the Detail Mafia, the direction, the purpose, the idea behind it. So people have a lot more clarity, because I know with being part of the group since 2014, there's definitely been some shade thrown on the name. And I don't say as a negative, but just more of a, I don't know the name, I don't know the group, that there's a certain way they come off. So elaborate on that in that direction so people understand the value behind that in the group.
Let me lead in with this, and then I'm going to go back with it. This group, the Mafia, probably, I don't think there's another group of professionals in any industry that are willing to give to those that are beat up and needy. I've watched this group, and it's all people that have come through our 5-day training. You know, they're all members, they're all vetted that way. And, you know, there's one individual in the group that's an outstanding individual. Him and I don't see eye to eye. Our personalities conflict. I've got so much admiration for this person that nobody in the group knows that him and I really kind of butt heads a little bit, but we admire each other as people and as souls so much that we would never damage each other. But yet we're so different that, you know, we can admit it. So the group is that when we have people in need, honest people, you know, in need within the group, they will bend over backwards to help each other. Now let's go back to the beginning of the Mafia. Let's go back to 2006, 2007. We're a different industry. The industry threw fist real quick. And there was a lot of negativity going down in the industry towards each other. Our group we were tough individuals. A lot of us former military, a lot of us former law enforcement, a lot of us former firefighters, a lot of us have a background where we spent some time in jail. I say we, you know, because we as a group are combined. Now, what's ironic is you've got somebody that spent time in jail with somebody that was a police officer that our best friend is in the group. How cool is that? Yeah. And so we come from a varied background. So in the early days, we kind of earned that dark reputation. We did take shit. And if somebody started shit with us, we handed it to them back pretty hard. Since then, we as a group have matured. We had to, right? We've gotten older. And then also to credit of the industry's changed a lot. And so we've gotten more sophisticated as the industry's gotten more sophisticated. So the Mafia these days, you know, we've got a big plan for this fall. I won't go into it right now, but we're going to lead the way, not be part of it. We need the whole industry to stand behind us, but we're going to organize it. And, you know, the group does a lot. We do charitable events. We do, Scotty up in Maine leads a group where we go through every Christmas and we work with veterans, and we kind of do a makeover on their vehicle and
Operation Sleigh Ride or
Sleigh Shine. Yep.
Sleigh Shine. Yeah.
So we do that every year, and we give, you know, thousands of dollars at each location. We do it nationwide, you know, and Scotty's got big plans for that. We've got a couple of other things that we want to do. You know, we've got, it's unreal. Some major networks that have come after us to do, you know, shows about us. You've been part of that. I went down and filmed Undercover Billionaire, was a part of that. We want to say, and here's the cool thing is that, oh, your egos. No, you know what we did? Let me tell you, it just happened for the third time. We turned down a show for the third time. You know why? Didn't paint the industry like we wanted to paint it. We could have all gone out and made money off of this. Probably made some fame on our way, a few of the shops. We turned it down because we didn't like the picture it painted for the detailing industry. And so that's what the mafia has become, is we're just a group that happen to be vetted, that have a name that was developed. Do I regret it? No, man, it's cool. It's part of my history. Go in and you can take and find my grandpa, on Google, by finding him. I probably won't share that information in general, because it's Gramps did have he had a background, with organized crime, but it's there. But we've turned it into a positive and not a negative. It was never meant to be a negative.
No.
When we got hit, we'd hit back. Now
we get egos. It's not egos. It's you've been able to bring confidence to the table for these individuals. So many introverts, so many people who weren't confident in business and detailing. You've just been able to bring that out of them.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
that turned into that confidence. And there is a thin line between confidence and cocky, but knowing the difference is what makes a difference.
Absolutely. Hey, there's going to always be individuals that, I just watched some hate go down on one of the, I don't belong to hardly any groups, but somebody tagged me in some hate that was going on. And I just went in professionally. It had nothing to do with it was another brand, but they wanted my input. And I just went in and gave really positive input. But my suggestion was to the group operators, go ban that person and delete the post. It's just, so I've gotten to the point now when I get somebody that just, first off, if you've got the arrogance to go in and be rude in a public forum, I don't have time for you. I really don't. The code of ethics that we've got within the mafia is insane. Is that to be a part of this, and it's not rules. We don't rule our group. Yeah, we do. It's like an association. It's like the IDA. Our rules are a lot stricter than that.
Well, I tell people, if they are an association, the mafia is an organization.
That's it. And so you've got to conduct yourself in a manner that is professional. The other thing is we support the IDA. To become a master, and you've got to be IDA certified, and you've gone through. You've got to continue your education. Is that my last year I had conversations with the bulk of the group off and on throughout the year. We've got 20 something odd millionaires, in the group. That's not bragging. That's because it's taken, we're very serious about business. I was just called out, one of the members. I got flustered in a post earlier, right at the beginning of the year, and some idiot sent me some stuff online that was going on. And man, I got mad. I said some things that weren't right. I went out in public and one of our members called me on the carpet. I went in and deleted one and then altered the other one and straightened myself out. Matter of fact, one of my goals is I have a goal that I set for myself, not a New Year's resolution, but I've got a goal, and I'm being very successful at this goal. And it's a very simple goal. I don't share it with anybody because I want to wait until people see it in me. It's a change I made within me that I didn't like about me. And I like being called out when I do something wrong. A lot of people don't think so, but what a lot of people don't realize is when they call out other people, they don't own their shit either. That's what I don't stand for. If you're going to call me out, you better be right to own your shit too. And so, you've called me out. You'll hold me accountable. It's not calling me out, it's holding me accountable. Jim Gogan definitely has. Bobby Poinsett up in Wyoming, very successful detailer. He called me out of that last episode. I was totally out of line, totally. So it's not that I'm not going to get past that. And every once in a while, my ego does take over. I really have tried to keep my ego in check. A lot of people see confidence. They'll see that in you. You're a big dude. You're buffed out. You're tattooed. They'll see you as cocky. You're the most uncocky dude that I've met. You're very sure of yourself, and you're very confident in yourself. And I think you believe in yourself. That's what I see when I see Justin Lobato. A weak person will see cockiness, or a person that just sees that your name's on stuff. Jealousy takes in. Anybody that would say that Justin Lobato's cocky doesn't know you. Is that I think that you're very connected with who Justin is, but more importantly, who Justin was, and very, 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 very importantly, who Justin's going to be. Don't watch what I did. Watch what I'm doing and watch where I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And and not to speak on me, but, I've seen that, even when people, customers, clients come to the shop and they see all these things I brought from shows with my face on them. And some of them think it's like this self-love, the kind of scenario. And it's like, these are just the things they were going to throw away. I brought back to my shop to hang them up because I'm proud of it. And it's like, and I'm part of these companies. Then they get then I explain, then they get the big picture. But right out the gate, they're like, oh, your face is on everything. It's like, yeah, I didn't ask for it. I was offered to me. It's not like I went out and said, hey, can you put my face on this? Can you put my face on that? It was every opportunity that I've gotten, and this, Renny, but for those listening, I have never asked for it.
No,
it's always been presented to me as an opportunity.
Absolutely.
And it's what I did with it afterward that made the difference.
We've talked about that for almost 12 years of how Justin is going to happen to. And here, people that are listening, this is what's cool about Justin and people like Justin. I think I'll bring myself in that loop. I told Justin it was going to happen. I said, listen, if you play this right, this is where you're going. I could see it. And that wasn't a credit. I wasn't going to mold him and build him. He was doing it on his own already when I met him. He just didn't see it yet. And, honestly, I'll tell you right now, I don't think Justin still sees it. That's what's cool about him, is that Justin is, he's where he's at because he offered something. He's not where he's at because he hunted it. Is that he just kept going out and doing what he did best and then moving himself forward while he brought people along and helping other people figure out their journey. And it happened naturally. And it happened the same way with me. And everybody, great. I'll never forget this. If you guys don't know who he is, I want you to Google him, but I'll tell you a little bit about him. Where I learned how to push yourself forward, and that the person that taught me, listen, you know what's wrong with your branding? That's what he goes, you're not on it. I want to see who I'm doing business with. And as a guy named Adam West, does that name sound familiar to you, Justin? Original Batman. So yep. Adam West played the original Batman. And I remember going to his house and he had all these posters, everywhere, not everywhere, but a lot, of him, in his career as Batman. Listen, Adam West unfortunately passed away. He was a great customer and a friend to both Diane and I. He showed up at our son's like 6th or 7th birthday party and signed autographs as the original Batman. I mean, this guy was just such a giver. And was he egotistical? No, he was a good looking guy. And he still spit game into his 70s. He was still spitting game, even though he's happily married. But he was such a, he was a cool dude. And he implanted on me, he goes, listen, nobody's ever going to do what you're going to do in this life, but you need to put it out there so other people know about it. Because I'm so happy that I got the opportunity to lead the world into Batman. And I was like, wow. And so, I'm really proud that, nobody else had done Air Force One before we did. Nobody else brought, if I was egotistical, I wouldn't put people on the front stage, No,
you put so many people forward. That's not egotistical.
That's it.
At all.
And, I look at this picture now. If I was egotistical, is that when your opportunities came, I would have snapped them up. I would have said, oh, Justin, you can't do that. And I would have been a slime ball and went after him myself. No, I pushed that forward. We have a good friend of ours, Robin, push her forward. Diane's doing a podcast now. She didn't want to be Diane hates speaking in front of people. And I've been after her for, even our kids don't know this, for 15 years, 20 years to go forward with me. It wasn't her thing. It just wasn't her. Well, now she's getting more comfortable all of a sudden. She hit 50 and that Charles Shelby statement came through. She's getting comfortable where she's at, right? And it's pretty cool because through osmosis, I've been an influence on her, and through osmosis, she's been an influence on me for, almost 27 years. So, there's a lot of things that you can tell the person you want to be is when a person comes with an opportunity and you do everything you can to help them achieve that opportunity. And I'm not threatened by other people having an opportunity. I rejoice when people go out and are killing it. What pisses me off is when they have an opportunity and they're doing half-hearted. I'm like, oh, yeah. I'm gonna go take that. Is if you're doing it half-hearted, you ain't doing it right. You ain't doing it right. And there's nothing that guys like you do. You don't do anything half-hearted. You're either into it 100%, give your all, or you just don't do it.
No, and I think all of this in what we're talking about too is a reflection of the group and the mafia because, again, you getting loose with things you get angry at. It's, even though you're the leader, it's still the soldiers still bringing you back in to remind you of what to refocus on. And it works both ways. And you as a leader redirecting the soldiers. And it's been that way and putting them forward and putting everybody forward. But also if somebody does get egotistical, that gets put into check. And that is what I think encompasses the group to be as a whole, to where there's so much care and love, not just for the industry in the direction of the industry, but how the industry is looked at because of how our actions are. So keep that in check to make sure everybody's on point, putting each other forward, but helping each other. And again, there is no other group that does that, especially at the magnitude of organization.
Absolutely. And are we the best detailers in the world? No, man. There's some.
Who cares about that? That is the
most.
There's
so many
statement. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just asked this not too long ago. So, are the best detailers in the world in your group? Oh, I don't know. I mean, we got some outstanding talent. Some men and women that I'd put against anybody. I will tell you this: our failure rate is low in the industry. I will tell you this: that our success rate's pretty high. I will tell you this, that our average income per hour is well above average. I will tell you this, that our lifestyles are above average. I will tell you this, that we educate higher. We're online every single week with an event. I will tell you this, that our self-support for each other when we face, Kyle Clark, my mom was Mormon. And when my mom died, Kyle came and did the graveside dedication. That's our group, is that, it's give and take. I will share that the fact that is that not everybody is meant to be in our group, is that if you look at our group, is that there's a lot of military. There's a lot of former law enforcement. There's a lot of firefighters, and there's some people that have done time, either in jail or in prison. I hate to say it. I don't hate to say it. I actually like this. There's commonality in all those.
Oh yeah.
Because even the people that unfortunately went down a rough road, listen, man, I was 4 toes in.
Yeah.
I was 4 toes in to going down. I mean, I could have easily, my brothers went one direction. I was pulled in another direction, but I was being pulled so heavily because I was so much like my grandpa into what the family business was. And had somebody not seen that, probably my grandma, and not got me away from it, I would probably be on that group that did time. I went on to be a reserve police officer. I'm still in the guard here in California, still do search and rescue, my horse and I. But I could have easily fallen into the trap of going down and had a maybe a violent life. What commonality there is that when you have to go and do time, you're put onto a schedule. It's no longer your schedule. When you go into the military, you're put on a schedule. You have law enforcement or firefighting, you're put onto a schedule. I think that's why our team does so well, is that, believe it or not, we've got a lot of discipline. And not everybody does, but a lot of them that hang in there and we're tough. Each one of us are very independent of the other. But if you hang in there, you can, that discipline can become osmosis, and you can gain discipline from being around. If my wife tells me, hey, I'm going to go work out, there's no way I'm going to let her to go to the gym without me. It's not going to happen. And so, having her as getting into fitness heavy now, it really helps me out because it's helping with my thyroid. It's helping with how I want me to look in the coming year. It's helping with everything. It's helping with my longevity. I want to be here. I want to grow old. Steve Harvey said that old is goal. Is that I want to stay active. I want to stay, I'm going to go I get to see my dad tonight. He's almost 84 years old. He still hikes 3 or 4 miles a day. I mean, how cool is that? He's still, he's still built, he's still chasing. He's got dreams going out 10 years. How cool is that? I've never met Warren Buffett, man. I met Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett was in his 70s when I met him. I think he's close to 90 now. If he's not, I don't even know how old he is, but man, he probably had 30 years of plans in front of him. Is entrepreneurs you don't stop planning because you age, unless you're not going to stop aging. unless you die. So you better plan for the future, and you better take and I look at these people. Hey, I never called somebody old. Never in my entire life. I took, and still to this day have always taken and honored people with wisdom. Now there's some older people that are dumb as a box of rocks, and I still am very respectful to them. But you can be a 20-year veteran bragging about your 20-year veteran doing it like a first-year rookie. But you could also be a first-year rookie doing it like a 20-year veteran.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a statement right there.
Right?
Now, obviously, everything that you had talked about in regards to the detail mafia group is a huge reflection of the detail training and everything that goes through. Now, before we are coming up to the end of the podcast, however, give a little information about how the 5-day training works and the value behind that, because there is a lot of value in that training. And for that, I mean, it's I got to say personally, it is a one-of-a-kind training. It's probably one of the most elite, most exclusive trainings in the North American market. There's no doubt about that. So give a little rundown on what you have to offer, Renny.
I would start it out with saying it's very personable. What I say on Friday, after everybody's finished the 60 to 70 hours, right? We're at 65 hours, 65 or 70 on Friday night. We're having a homemade Italian dinner here in the shop. And I tell them this: listen, you just completed, we've been pretty hard on you. It's not an easy week. The relationship just started. Is that this last week was the foundation for our relationship moving ahead. But really the work ahead is in front of us. Is that all I can do is make suggestions. You're going to have to make decisions. And so the training is vetted, is that it's skill-based. Everything that we train is, we're going to train you on some freaking amazing skills. Amazing. But here's the difference between what we see as training and what a lot of other great programs look at. We tie everything into profits per hour. Everything is, because this is not a hobby, this is a business. And I don't want you to go through the hardships that myself and others have suffered through. I want you right off the bat to be as profitable as you can. The biggest thing that's in common with people that come through the 5-day or even the 1-day extreme is they're not charging enough, and they don't know what their costs are, and they're not managing their money. They're not making their money work for them. And so we start right off the bat. We've had attorneys, Fortune 100 company attorneys just a year ago come through training. They're getting into detailing. They're giving up their law careers and coming into something they love. They're giving up the golden handcuffs and going into silver handcuffs so that they can actually enjoy life instead of being a slave to what they do. And so the training goes into, some amazing, Diane teaches interiors, cutting edge interiors. Nobody knows it honestly like we do. And we just teach at a different level. Paint correction, we work right now, we're working exclusively with Porsche. The paint's kind of sweet and sour. It's kind of can be a little difficult to hold stuff in. So we don't train you on stuff that's, we've got some hoods sitting over here. We teach you how to burn on the hoods. If you ain't burning, you ain't learning.
Yeah.
But we teach you some hardcore sanding techniques. It's the start. You've got a year or 2 or 3. Listen, to become a master in anything, it's going to take you 5 to 12 years. If you're going to be a master sergeant in the military, it's going to take you probably 12 years, to get that. If you're going to become a master electrician, 2 of my brothers are master electricians, it's going to take you 10 to 12 years. If you're going to become a master plumber, my cousin's a master plumber, I've asked him all that, it's going to take about 8, 9 years. To become a master chef, one of my really good customers, world-renowned chef, is trained in all over the world, all over Europe, stuff like that. Took him about 12 years to become a master chef. Here's the key, where he was making a significant living. Now, we've got 1-person operations in our group that are killing it. We've got Doug Parfait. I won't tell you what he's making, but he's making a nice little coinage, for a 1-man shop. And he goes.
Yes, he is.
He is, and he's got a nice pace, and he works the way he wants to. We've got, the Parker brothers out of Arizona that are, 7-figure company, and they've got a very, 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 very small staff, and they're killing it. So we've got all walks of life, and that comes out of the 5-day. And so it's not made for everybody. We've actually increased it this year. We're going up, normally only have 48 students a year. This year, we're going to go ahead and do 56 students because the demand's so high. And it's just, we put everything, we don't count the clock. In a lot of trainings you go to is, okay, it's 8:15, here we go. Now it's, 5:05, so we'll see you tomorrow. No, you're here sometimes at 6 a.m.
So the job's done.
Until the job's done. The cool thing is that, it's everything's included. All you have to do is get here. You pay for the flight. We put you in the hotel. We pick you up at the airport and we feed you while you're here. The only thing you'll have to do is if you want to go out for breakfast, you'll have to do that on your own, but we do have carb-free, calorie-free donuts and croissants in the mornings.
I just highly recommend the Teddy Bear Cafe. Just
Yeah.
wake up early. They open at 7, not 6, as I rolled up there and they were
Yep.
still closed.
Yeah.
You might meet some bears or coyotes.
Yeah. Megan from Autogeek got to see our local population of coyotes. And right now we've got our population of wild donkeys that are roaming around. And we do have, bobcats, mountain lions, everything else. We're in the mountains of Southern California. Big Bear is a lovely community. Our shop, you can see it. Here it is. And so, the training is something that I want to tell you, I get a huge kick out of it because it really is the launch point for people. Our average student that comes through has got 10 years of experience. But usually in the class, we always have one person that's never touched a polisher. And what's cool is nothing against the experienced people, but by the end of the class, the brand new person's got pretty damn close to the same skill level sometimes as the experienced person, because we've been able to calm down the experienced person and then really bring up the other one. So, we really teach, we go into, like I said, profits. Then we have the one-day extremes. We just got done with that last Saturday. It's 70 students across the country. You're one of our training centers. You and Mark split time because of your schedule. So we had 70 people, come to training this last Saturday across the country. And again, not everybody's going to be able to go into a 5-day. It's not, it's not a cheap program, nor do we want it to be a cheap program because of what, the value we get.
It's an investment.
It's a good investment. And so the 1 day is a great way to work into that. But, here's even a fact right now is that, I'm not a perfect match for everybody, in our training program. The key to this is that you go get trained. And, I would just tell you this, look at who you're gaining the knowledge from and look where they're at and where they're going, because there's a lot of BS out there right now. There's a lot of people churning, and I hate to say this, but
where they've been in order to give you that knowledge.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people right now. The trend is that I'm seeing some people that were not successful in business and they're trying to set up training programs. I'm seeing people that have not paid their taxes in years, but they're setting up training programs. I'm seeing people that have only been in the industry for 1 or 2 years, and now they're wanting to teach you how to become successful. That's great. Problem is, we've got a decade where we haven't faced any financial hardships, and you're going to see the survivors come out of the pack, and you're going to see the weak go away. I hate to say it. Is this next slowdown is going to be a big one, because we've trained a whole generation of entrepreneurs, not just in the detailing industry. It's been an easy street. Not that the entrepreneurship's easy, but I hate to say it. It's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel right now. It's the easiest I've ever seen to become successful. Now, surviving that when we see some hardships that are coming. Inflation's on the rise. We got a war going on. We got all these different things. We've got some stuff happening. We're going to start seeing some people, COVID, the opening weeks, we didn't know what the heck was going on. I didn't, none of the world did.
Yeah.
But what was a short-term problem that we weren't sure of ended up being one of the biggest booms for our industry ever. I've never experienced the growth and seen so much growth in my life in the industries we did over COVID.
Like you said, when the struggles do happen, that's what the term business has no emotions. So don't feel bad if it hurts and it cuts dry, because that's what preparation is for, and good business tactics, plans, and things like that being set forth to make sure that it's not foolproof, but at least you can survive.
Well, and people have been asking me, the war, anytime there's a war, and it's sad to see what's going on, because we've got friends that are in both countries, and it just breaks my heart, because I've been over in the region, and, I've got good friends, it just sucks. But people have asked me, especially in the last week, what should we be doing? I tell you what I'm doing now, and I've been doing it for a long time, but even more so now, is I'm taking anything I can cut that's not a need, that's a want right now, is I'm pretty much cutting it out. Is that I'm just buckling down just in case, I'm not stopping on my, day-to-day spending, but I am, I'm not going out and look, it's real easy for me to go out and look at, a fancy new car. Boy, would I like it? Yeah. But right now I want to see what happens,
Yeah.
So I'm just holding back and going to see, putting money away. Money, cash is king. When we go into a slowdown, it's actually an opportunity to get wealthier if you've got money put away, is because real estate's going to become, there's going to be some bargains out there. Cars are going to become a bargain. A lot of things are going to become a bargain, but you got to have the cash to make it. First time, you got to have the cash to survive. And if
Yeah.
you've got that money set aside and your monthly nut is pretty small, you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely. And then for those that don't give up your dreams. Go out and get a 40-hour job and keep this as a side hustle until things turn around. Don't give it up. Just shift gears. Is that it's going to all change. Whatever you got to do is survive it and go, but stay out of debt.
I like that. That's a good, I would say that's some good words of advice, because that's what my next asking of you would be, is some advice, but I think that hit the mark for us. So coming up on time, as far as finishing out with the podcast, Renny, how would people get a hold of you? Maybe mention Chris to get a hold of him for the 5-day training, but how would people reach out to you if they want to know more about the training and getting involved?
Cindy, probably if you're going to do it, because my schedule is so hectic, is that if you want information quickly, the best way is going to be is email. And that's going to be chris@detailingsuccess.com. Now, if you've got a comment and you just want to say something, is send me an email direct. Unfortunately, I get a lot of people who ask, hey, can you mentor me? I've got 200 people in our group that I mentor. But what I can do is, we do a podcast. I do a message every Sunday over on the PNS Instagram account. We're really kicking into high gear. Our videos, how-tos, and support videos on Instagram and Facebook. That's going to be your best way. But if you've got something going on, it's Renny, RENNY @detailingsuccess.com. And then our website, detailingsuccess.com. And then Detailing Success over on Instagram and Facebook. And then Renny Doyle on Instagram. And so, on Instagram, I realize it's kind of a mix between, I love my dog, I love my horse, I love my wife. I love, I love to see people so it's cool to watch your detailing page. But if you've got a detailing page on Instagram and you don't have a personal one, I'm going to challenge you to change that. Go get a personal one too, because I want to see you from the inside. I want to see the raw you, not just the detailer you. And so if you want to see the raw me, that's where you see it. And some people say, oh, it's boring. I don't care. That's who I am.
Yeah.
And I like to be in snow. I like the outdoors. I like my dogs. I like my horse. I like weird things. I posted up pictures of snowflakes the other day because I like snow. I just, I want to see people for who they are. I love nerdy people. I'm a Star Wars fan, and so it's just that's how to keep in contact. And, exit out of here is Justin's great. Justin, having me on is an honor, but you doing this with everybody that you've had on and everybody you will have on is absolutely huge.
Thank you.
And especially at the age you're at, you guys want different. I've always had different mentors. I'm very careful who I let into my mind. I always have been.
Yeah.
You
have to be.
I look at people and I want to duplicate them. Are they a good man? Not a perfect man, because I'm imperfect. I've already admitted that. But are they a good person? And have they faced struggles and been able to get through it? That's what I've lived through. Is because I myself had struggles, and I'm going to have struggles, and I know I'm going to have to learn from others. It's funny because we had a group here this weekend, mostly new detailers, and I took a whole page of notes from them, and they're brand new because they all had something in their personal life in a way they did something professionally that I admire. So that's what you look for.
Awesome. Well, no, and I appreciate you having you on behalf of myself and Buff and Shine. I mean, this is something obviously with our personal relationship over the years. You could have been episode number 1, but that's the thing. It's not about that. It's not about getting the clout, the glamour, and everything behind this. This is for, we're not worried about being the number 1 podcast out there. This is just for giving back, getting people to know people in the industry. This is so it's more familiar. It's family, it's business, it's detailing. It's just getting to know and have an avenue for that. And that's where, with us, this is something that I'm glad it's happened, because this is episode 64. This is over, gosh, almost 2 years, a year and a half, almost 2 years worth of doing this. And you have a podcast. It takes a while to get that momentum of having guests and then getting and continuing to have guests. But yeah, you're right. I'm just happy that I've been able to meet and talk to people and have friends and family on that I could just chat with and enjoy an hour out of my day to be able to do that and get information across to others to get them to know who these guests are like yourself.
No, it's pretty cool. And, our podcast is shifting gears back before COVID. We had this plan and idea with our podcast, and COVID kind of shifted that, right? So starting really next week, what I'm doing is people that I've been able to meet is we're going to go outside of the industry. And so we're going to still be catered towards the industry, but what we're going to do is good friends of mine. I've got a good friend of mine that's owned one of the most successful supplement stores in California. His family's owned it for generations. He just wrote a book and he's going to come on. I've got good military friends of mine that I've served with, or people that just served that are going to come on and talk about longevity and survival instincts and everything that relates back to business, but from their experience for taking it from military or law enforcement. And I've got search and rescue personnel coming on. We got mental health experts coming on. We're shifting back to our original format. And it's, again, exactly that. I'm never going to be Joe Rogan podcast. Neither one of us will be. It's not the aim.
No.
It's to make a difference one person at a time.
Bingo. Well, Renny, thank you. And on behalf of Buff and Shine, thank you. And everybody has had the opportunity to take out of their day to listen or later date. Again, this is Reflection Artist Live, episode number 64 with Renny Doyle. So again, everybody have a great day. Renny, I'll talk to you and enjoy your time.
Yeah, Justin,
Yeah,
thank you.
be
Buff,
safe.
thank you. You guys rock and appreciate the opportunity. We'll see you next time.
All right, take care.
See you, buddy.